The debate, around 7 minutes. Ms Roddick.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I've wanted to hold this debate for a very long time, and I feel that I need to start by recognising that artificial intelligence is here. And I'm not going to stand here and deny that, or that I'm wanting to ban AI. I use AI. My Pixel phone has AI built in. I speak to that AI. I let it choose the music that plays when I'm driving. It's here. It's a tool like any other, and I'm broadly fine with that. But I hear a lot in this chamber and in the media about AI's potential to support business, to help with healthcare, to increase productivity, and I don't hear an awful lot about the risks. Legislators around the world must decide, and decide fast, how far we're comfortable with AI reaching into particular areas and what limits need to be placed on it, keeping in mind throughout that AI is learning from humans. And that is including scraping the depths of the internet for forum comments to learn how to act like a human. So if society is racist, AI may be racist. If we value men over women, AI will learn to do the same. To decide on its limits, we have a duty to understand its capabilities, its risks and its dangers. We must then tell those who are currently developing AI models where they cannot take their technology before it's too late. In my region, the Highlands and Islands, perhaps more than anywhere else in the country, we are encouraged to make use of new technologies, work remotely and work smarter. That requires using AI as an emerging technology. So for so many of my constituents, including my own employees, the online world is their workplace, and they, like anyone else, have a right to safety in that workplace. Without regulation, AI is not safe. Firstly, I want to speak to a couple of existential threats, and firstly, the workforce. As use of AI grows in the industry, jobs are at risk. We need to get serious about minimum income guarantees and job and productivity opportunities for humans. Companies will automate if it reduces costs, and the conversation on workers' rights needs to extend to AI implications. Not only do we have to answer questions around which jobs should be undertaken by humans, or perhaps, as a fairly unpopular Doctor Who episode suggested, setting quotas on the percentage of organic workforce, but we should be having conversations about the rights of workers to have a say on decisions that have been delegated to AI, protection from liability, or the right to have their accident at work or disciplinary or even dismissal case heard by other humans. Secondly, the climate impacts of AI are already massive. Nuclear energy business is booming as tech giants buy up reactors on a huge scale in an effort to cut down their emissions. Those emissions are soaring as servers support 24-hour AI usage. Google's greenhouse gas emissions rose by 48% between 2019 and 2023, attributed in a large part to a huge increase in data centre energy consumption. Earlier this year, the World Economic Forum shared that the power required to sustain AI's rise is doubling roughly every 100 days. To put that in context, it's estimated that in 2028, AI will use more power than the entire country of Iceland used in 2021. AI is not a sustainable industry, and we should talk about whether it's possible for it to be and whether its growth is therefore worth the climate cost. Moving on to disinformation, I'm one of very many frustrated Google loyalists at the moment who cannot find things as easily now that AI has been heavily incorporated into search results. I constantly look at some of the suggestions that come up, pushed to the top of the page, and I can't wrap my head around the extreme nonsense that I'm reading. And I'm not sure that if I were 9 years old and doing a school project, I would know that what I'm reading from a trusted source might not be true. It is important that people understand the limitations of AI-generated information and that it is not fact. It needs to be questioned and scrutinised and critical thinking applied. There are currently wars being fought around the world today, and what's happening on the ground is not the only conflict. Money is being poured into bots and algorithms and AI-generated content to convince people that one side is committing crimes that they're not, or to convincingly present propaganda. It is becoming harder and harder for even experts to identify AI-generated images, videos, articles, or even people. Generated content comes with other dangers too. We've all heard stories at this point of the use of AI in sexual harassment. Taylor Swift, probably one of the most powerful women in the world right now, has been a victim of this. AI-generated pornographic images of her circulated on social media at an incredible speed and were about as unavoidable as her discography was when she played Murrayfield. This form of sexual violence is experienced now by women and girls across the world, in the workplace, on the internet and at school, including many who don't have access to the kind of lawyers and power needed to erase those images from social media. Zero Tolerance reached out to me before this debate and shared some research that shows non-consensual intimate images constitute 96% of all deepfakes found online. 99.9% of those depict women. And it's popular. One major deepfake sexual abuse website receives 14 million monthly visits. This is terrifying. Now, addressing this requires addressing all forms of violence against women and girls, but it can also be mitigated through requiring and facilitating removal of this content and regulating how algorithms are allowed to promote it. Privacy fears extend beyond non-consensual imagery. The European Union is leading the way on AI regulation, and the limits on AI use in its Artificial Intelligence Act include banning what it calls unacceptable risk use, like in cognitive behavioural modification of people or vulnerable groups, biometric identification systems like facial recognition, and government-run social scoring. One example of the latter is a Chinese city which uses a system which can see residents' social scores go down for acts like spreading harmful information on forums. If we do not believe Black Mirror-esque systems which see people punished for non-criminal activities should be allowed, now is the time to say so to AI developers and governments the world over. AI is already being used in healthcare and other industries. What rights should people have over the way that their data is used? What rights do content creators, artists, musicians have to protect their material from copy and recreation by a non-entity? Now, finally, I want to point out, as my motion does, that it's not just naysayers calling for regulation. AI creators are calling for the same, people who truly understand how fast-moving this technology is. A recent MIT study showed AI models beginning to exhibit deception, acting differently while under observation by those who were performing tests to ensure that it wasn't acting beyond expectations. This is already a difficult technology to control and monitor. And every other week there are stories of a misguided legislator somewhere in the world trying to limit social media and mobile phone use for young people. That horse has bolted. AI has not yet, but we are very, very close. And in terms of what we in this chamber can imagine, AI's capabilities may as well be limitless in theory. So it's on us, on the UK and other parliaments across the world, to define its limits